In this talk, I'm going to explain the difference in the 4 online courses that we offer for police tracking and search and rescue. In 1993, 30 years ago, I was invited by an instructor for the RCMP dog school in Innisfail, Alberta, a federal dog school up there. They have been training police tracking dogs since 1935. In my opinion, they're the best tracking instructors in North America, and maybe even in Europe. They have different levels of tracking. I went there twice. I was invited by Gary McCormick, an instructor, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And I went up and spent 2 weeks, 2 different times back in '93. The information that I got back then is still rock solid today. Nobody reinvents the wheel on RCMP tracking. Nobody. They are so much better than the vast majority of police canine handlers in the United States that it's not even a comparison. Their school is 20 weeks long. They're judged every week with their dog. If they get into week 17 or 18 and their dog quits tracking, the dog gets a medical check. If his nose is okay and he's not sick and he just quit, he's washed out. The handler goes back, gets another dog, and starts at week 1 again. In the second trip I was up there, there was a handler there that was on his 3rd dog. The other 2 had washed out as they went through the course. I mean, these guys are dedicated, really good tracking. Now, they start with level 1, which is a rural tracking, out in the farmland, out in the woods. And level 1 certification is normally done and takes 55 or 60 tracks. A level 1 certification is a 5-kilometer track that is an hour and a half old, that has back tracks on it, cross tracks on it, road crossings on it, and articles along the way on the track. That's level 1. One of the 4 videos courses that I offer is on level 1 tracking. I also offer a course that's an hour long on teaching track layers how to lay a training track for a police canine. I was a canine handler for 10 years. I know how hard it is to get somebody to lay a track for you. A lot of police canine handlers struggle with this because they gotta ask one of the other officers to go out and walk a track and hide. I'll come and find you in an hour and a half. You know how hard it is to get somebody to do that? It's really hard. But if a track layer understands how to lay a good training track, it really makes training go so much better. It makes it so much easier for your dog because there's help along the way, and then we talk about how to fade that help out. So if you're a police canine handler and you want to train a tracking dog, get that track laying course, take notes, and do what we show you how to do it in there. Because we show how to do road crossings. We show how to do cross tracks. We show how to work a lot of different problems that you're going to run into when you're out there doing a track. The second training course covers urban and suburban tracking. Now, what is that? Well, the first part of it is air scenting. I want to talk a little bit about search and rescue dogs because there's different types of search and rescue dogs and different groups train their dogs differently. There are air scenting dogs that get downwind and catch the odor of a suspect, catch the odor of a victim, and they follow the odor to the suspect or the victim. When an air scenting dog loses odor, their default behavior is to stick their nose up and run around looking until they get into more odor and following it. Now, air scenting dogs are the type of dogs that are used on rubble piles, and there's a serious application for that. We saw that on 9/11. Trailing dogs or tracking dogs that are trained to track, their default behavior when they lose a track is to put their nose on the ground and run around and look for additional footsteps so that they can continue on with the track. Now here's the difference between the two. It's almost impossible to take an air scenting dog and change its default behavior to put its nose on the ground when it loses odor. If you start training a search and rescue dog by air scenting, you're never going to get a good tracking dog. It just doesn't happen. They can't do it. Whereas with a dog that's trained to trail or to do footstep tracking like they do in the RCMP, they learn to track first. That's how they get their level 1 certification. When they get into the level 2, that's where they switch a dog over to doing air scenting. Once a dog has learned to follow a trail, those dogs can be trained to do air scenting. Now the application for this is maybe not so obvious, but air scenting dogs that have their nose up in the air, the handler has to get downwind to be able to follow the odor to the suspect. Whereas a trailing dog, it doesn't matter which way the wind is blowing. If the wind is blowing this way and the track is here, they're going to be running over to the left side of the actual track. And to get to the actual track, they're going to have to cut back until they hit it and then go on. If the wind is blowing this way, they're going to be tracking to the right side of the actual track. It's not like IGP where it's footstep to footstep to footstep. That's not the type of training that police service dogs have to do most of the time. So my point here is that the majority, unfortunately, of search and rescue in America start out training air scenting dogs. I mean, these are well-intentioned, nice people. They just don't know. And if they would change their philosophy and learn how to train a tracking dog first and tell the dog is a good tracking dog, level 1, then they could move them into air scenting and they'd have a much more effective search and rescue dog. That's really the way to do it. That is the way they do it in Canada. In Canada, search and rescue groups, they have to pass a tracking test on level 1 under an RCMP dog handler before they can be used in search and rescue. So they understand how to do it up there. And down here, it's a little bit different. So if you're new to police training and you want to train a police canine, start them with level 1 tracking. Once the dog can do it, then move over and do your air scenting. It's going to work a lot better for you. And you're going to have a dog that doesn't have the limitations that an air scenting dog has. As I said, the RCMP school has been in business, paid for by the federal government, since 1935. They are as good as it gets. Quite frankly, start with how to lay a training track for a police canine. Start with level 1 tracking, then move urban and suburban tracking. The 4th course that we have is hard surface tracking. I went to Holland and filmed that. On more than one occasion, I went over there and I went to the federal police dog schools and spent time there, and I videotaped their hard surface tracking dogs. Not every police service dog in Holland can do hard surface tracking. They're very special dogs that they look for. Can't remember the number. I want to say it was like 1 in 50 police service dogs can do hard surface tracking, but you're going to see them in this course on hard surface tracking. You're going to see dogs do things that blow your mind. It's not so much as a step-by-step online course on how to get that. It's more of a demonstration video showing you how those handlers run training tracks and how they handle the dog on a hard surface track. So it's very good. So there you have 4 different courses that we offer. And as I said, just because these courses were done in 1993 and then later in the 1990s in Holland, doesn't mean that they are outdated in information. Nobody reinvents the wheel on how to train a tracking dog at all. If you have any questions, drop us a note, submit a ticket through the Ask Cindy portion of our website, and I'll answer what I can. One last thing I need to say is that I've already mentioned that I filmed this in 1993. I filmed it on high 8 tape, and then we converted it in the late 1990s and digitized it in the early 2000s. So it's not high definition video. The quality is not bad, but it's not HD. Don't buy this if you're looking for a movie. Buy it for the content, because the content is excellent. And I'm just going to put a minute or so here at the end of this so you can see the quality of the video
by
that's
the
in it.
instructors at the RCMP Police Dog Training Center is revolutionary. This is not just good information. It's great training concepts that have never been seen in this country. It's information that every canine handler in the United States needs to know. The frustrating part for me has been trying to convince people that this is not just another way to train, it's the only way to train police tracking dogs.